David, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Coming across loud and clear. It is 10 a.m. in Oakland and the sun hasn't risen. It's
That's
There's
not
so
good.
much smoke outside. It's blackout.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
woke up this morning to no internet, so I'm actually calling you through my cell phone. That's how ridiculous it is. Our
well,
internet's been
the
going up and
quality
down
is
and up and
great.
down.
So that's good. Yeah, and it's one problem or another, but I'm glad that I got you here with me. I'm really excited to discuss influencer marketing and a deeper understanding. Personally, I'm a huge fan of what you do. I talked with Neil Schaefer before his presentation, and he's a huge fan of what you do. And he wrote the book, The Age of Influence. Right? He knows that we're moving in an interesting direction. And of course, in a way, we Aspire IQ and Carro are in the same market, and you think, oh my God, these are like competitors, but because you
No.
come at such a unique angle and what you're thinking about influencer marketing, I feel like there's you're on the opposite ends of the same coin, or however you want to say it. And so it's really fascinating to see what you've created and how you think. To me, you're literally thinking about the world in a different way, which is always exciting. So thank you so much for coming on.
No
Really
problem.
quickly, just give us the rundown of David and a little bit of your background. You've got an incredible portfolio and resume, and I'll just let you share with everyone a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually I originally grew up in Northern Ireland, so I still have a slightly weird accent. I apologize in advance for
No,
that.
come on.
But no, in Ireland it was all about sports, and so I thought I was going to end up playing rugby and things like that. And it's a winter sport, so the ground is rock hard frozen, and you're running around with metal cleats on it, and so when you fall, it's like falling on a cheese grater. And so I got out of that and got into rowing. And rowing in Ireland was great because there's this big river that goes through the city. The problem is that some parts of the city are bad areas and some are good areas. And so when you're rowing, you would see these kids running for us and throwing bottles and bricks at us. So that's a great way to get you to row a lot faster. But I sort of realized that sports wasn't my thing. And that was really the only choice that the school was interested in pursuing. I wanted to be a pilot and fly Concorde. Like that was my main objective. The problem is I'm 6 foot. You can't really tell from Zoom, but I'm 6'8" tall. And one
Wow.
day I actually got to sit in the cockpit of Concorde, and I realized that I was far too big. I didn't fit. There's no way. And
Kind of like
so,
a horse jockey. You can't
yeah.
undo this. You can't solve for this one.
So my path is sort of a strange one. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. My mother wanted me to be a dentist, and I had no interest in doing that at all. And so I ended up deciding to get into the video game industry, and that was really fun. Back in those days, there's like the Sinclair machines. Everything was black and white, and I ended up getting paid to make games for books in school, and that's fantastic. When you're making money in school, that means unlimited candy. And I could also charge video games to my taxes. And so I sort of realized this industry of sort of entertainment and making games was a phenomenal place to be.
I love it. And so from gaming, this kind of brought you into maybe the glimpse of thinking about influencer marketing this new way. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, what we were really interested in was I guess what happened is I'm sitting in the game industry. It's obvious this is my future. I should keep doing it. We did lots of big properties like The Matrix and things like that. And so that seemed to be the choice. I ended up, my last company was acquired by PlayStation. So I was sitting at Sony sort of going, is this it? Is this the end of the line for me? Or shall I do one more video game company? And what happened was I got into photography, and I found that influencers were influencing me on how what equipment I was buying for my studio. And so, they would say, this is the best light ever. And I would go buy it, and it was the best light. And then I would take their next advice, buy this tripod or whatever. And so I ended up building my studio based upon influencers. And so they definitely caught my attention. I found the whole process really very interesting. And then I started to take pictures of normal people. And when I posted those to my Instagram feed, nobody cared. And yet when I took a picture of an influencer, my feed would just blow up with people going, how can I meet this person? Oh my God, I love him. And so I realized it's actually not obvious to people. You hear about influencers all the time, but you don't really think about just how powerful they are. Like I saw Ed Sheeran play at the Rose Bowl. Like that's a big deal. If you've ever stood in the Rose Bowl and looked around at the audience, it's like, wow, that's so many people. And yet for an influencer, there was one time I was shooting some in my studio and they brought their friends and I was looking around at them going, these influencers combined have 15 million followers. That's 166 Rose Bowls that they can reach. And when you start to put it into perspective, like what is the actual reach of these people? It is enormous. And so it caused me to start thinking about that. There has to be a way to sort of get involved in the space. And I asked them straight up, like, what's it like being an influencer? How does it work? And because they were cool, they were sort of explaining it to me very clearly. They weren't making much money. They were turning down most of the deals that they got because they're always getting offered things. We're Denver candles, and you have to tell everybody these are the best candles in the world. And they're like, I don't want to sell candles. I can't do this.
This is the first premise of Carro right here. They didn't believe in the brands that were pitching them.
No, and they couldn't. Their audience, you have to remember, it's such a different world. Celebrity means when you're familiar with somebody. If you're looking at Tom Hanks or Julia Roberts, and they are 40 feet wide and you're staring at every pore in their face, you become very familiar with them. And that was the whole idea of celebrity, was that you really got to know these people. You could spot Tom Hanks at 100 yards anywhere. But influencers, it's way closer than that. They're seeing them every single day. They see them from every possible angle every day with their dogs in their house. And they have a real relationship in a way with that person because they know everything about them. And when they suddenly try to sell something that's just out of band, the audience immediately feels that it's inauthentic. I think a good example of that that I like to use is, imagine you go to a conference and there's a sign on the wall and it says best coffee ever. And then someone takes a sip and turns around and goes, oh, that's the worst coffee ever. It's who do you believe in that scenario? Is it the marketing or do you believe the person? And I think that's the thing that influencers are doing, is they're starting to really, they're earning trust and they have to manage that trust carefully. And so that's one problem you'll see, is a lot of influencers are just constantly shilling stuff. If you look at their feed, it's just a whole bunch of random objects being sold. I don't really consider those as actual influencers. I think of the real ones are the ones that have the real loyal followings, but that can really move the needle for a brand that they love.
Yeah, and I've seen this so many times. In beauty, we have this maybe is a little non-PC, but the more attractive the person is, the less value you're gonna get from their posts, because you've got basically a bunch of men will follow really attractive women, and then when they post to social media, they've got millions of followers, and it doesn't sell beauty products. I can tell you that. Obviously, you don't want an all-male audience to buy your beauty products. And on the flip side, you've got people that specialize in unboxing and products, and they just know beauty inside out. It doesn't matter what you look like. You tell a story and you close. And to me also, I think that they're the more beautiful side of the audience, because they're just a lot more authentic than the women posting pictures in bikinis. But like I said, it's a little non-PC caveat there. But
no, it's a real problem. You'll find a bikini company will spend their entire marketing budget hiring one influencer who's beautiful to wear their bikini. And sales don't happen, and it's exactly for that reason. It's because all of her followers are male. This happens quite often as well, where you have to ask yourself, why does this person, who are these followers and why are they following? Another example I like to use, and what really got me interested in this space, that really got me rolling, was I was watching an influencer, Casey Neistat. He got wealthy and he doesn't need to post anymore, but he at the time he was posting every day. And I found myself living in the world of Casey Neistat. And what happened was, he once flew on Emirates Airlines, and Emirates, somebody pointed to him and said, "That's Casey Neistat." And so the staff upgraded him to first class. And then he made a video of what it's like to be on Emirates in first class. And it was watched 73 million times on YouTube. And so the question really is, what would it have cost if you wanted to buy 73 million views of a video? And so this idea that someone would point to them is really what inspired us, is can we do that at scale? Is there some way to do that, with data and at scale? And can we point to these important people and help the brands pay attention to who they're interacting with? And we've done it over 6 million times at this point. So we've found lots of really important people. And it turns out that when brands first do this, they realize that they've missed a lot of opportunity. They've had the Casey Neistats go by a lot. We had one investor who called me up and he said, I just want to be honest. I invested in your company because I like your co-founder. I actually don't know what you do. And so I said to him, well, what do you do? And he has BMW dealerships. And so I said to him, look, let me show you a video of an influencer walking into a Mercedes dealership and buying a G-Wagon, which is going to be, seen by millions of people. What would you have done if he had have walked into the BMW dealership?
You would have glassed right over. You wouldn't.
And he goes,
known, right?
we wouldn't know. And I go, so that's really the point. Is we really had to think about how we could possibly point to these people. Another thing that happened was we once went to dinner with my daughter and a whole bunch of friends, and one of them was an influencer. 12 years old. She had her momager, they call it your momager, was there. She's making $30,000 a month. And she explained they'd just been to a conference, which was like some kind of makeup conference. And her hotel room was actually covered in makeup to the point that every single surface, the entire bed, the windowsills, every shelf, everything in the room was covered in makeup. And the joke was that she doesn't wear makeup. And so someone's paying to put all that stuff in the room, thinking that if they can just get it in the proximity of an influencer, everything's going to go great, right? And that's not real either. What she does is she actually videos the room because she thinks it's funny, and then she leaves and all that makeup is thrown out. And so that's the harsh reality of when things can go wrong. But one of the girls at the table asked her about her backpack, which was this really cool white backpack that she had. And she started gushing about it. Oh my God, I love this backpack. I take it everywhere I go. Yeah. And all the other girls are like, I really like it. What's the brand? How do I get one? And I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me?
At a makeup convention, she sells 10,000 backpacks.
Yeah, I want to be the backpack company, right? Because that relationship is authentic. The makeup relationship is just silly and a huge waste of money. And so these are the formational things that my co-founder had been doing a lot of research in this space, and these are the formational things and discussions we kept having about, is there any way to do this in some kind of scale? Can we point to the most influential customers for the brands? And secondly, we actually don't want to be an agent. So we call it the piggy in the middle model, where there's always someone in the middle who won't let these two people talk to each other. Yeah. And we have no interest in being piggy in the middle. So the goal is just to say, that's an important person. Do what you like. If you want to reach out to them, do it. If you don't. But another example, which I think is interesting, is I think all of us have some brands that we authentically love. I mean, if I was to ask you, is there one that you love? Is there anything that you would stand by and actually tell a friend, you should get this, this is really good?
Oh gosh.
Like any sports or anything, or any hobbies or anything like that?
There are. Actually, I talk about this microphone a lot to people.
It's a good example. Perfectly good example, right? Something that you actually, the thing is, when you tell someone, they believe you because they feel you're being real, right? They feel you're. Now imagine you every day tried to sell us a new microphone because you're making $250 or something. It's just not worth it. We would be all confused, and we can't trust you anymore. I know that my daughter loves Urban Outfitters, and that brand is a good example where when she goes in the mall, she wants to shop there. And so she's bought so many of their clothes, which means that if they were to ever look in their data, she and all other influencers are peppered in their data. And they can say, my goodness, she comes here all the time and she's bought so much stuff. She's really engaged with our brand. And the point is that if something like Jumpy Clothes or some bizarre company reaches out to her, which happens all the time, she has no interest, absolutely no interest at all. But if Urban Outfitters ever reached out to her, her head would pop off, right? It would be the most exciting, oh my goodness, they've asked me to do something or they're sending me stuff. It would be very exciting. So the importance of pairing the right people, I think, became a really interesting question for us. And what we did is we created some tech and brands started installing it. And we thought we would have to meet with each company and try to convince them to do this. But
I'm really glad that you don't.
Yeah, well, we started and Jason, my co-founder, was getting in his car and going and literally meeting with one brand at a time. And he was like, they want to do it. They want to do it. They're really interested. And so in the end, we just made it so that they can onboard themselves. And we're over 25,000 brands now doing this. And, that's actually sort of validated the whole thing for us. And so now we're trying to just build this I want to get to 1 million brands. And so, whatever we can do to get there.
I love it. All right. So the first thing I want to go back one second. The key takeaway, I think, for everyone is, Emirates Airlines almost missed the opportunity to get insane amounts of free press with somebody that was already on their airline. If they'd have known, if they'd have had Carro installed, of course it can't work that way exactly right now, but if they'd had Carro installed, it would have been like, oh, he's about to enter the plane. Let me handhold him up to the front. And there is obviously influencers do get like a little bit of special treatment like celebrities in that way. But to put it frankly, the exposure you can get from just empowering an influencer who already loves your brand is really what we want to be focused on. It's existing opportunity. It's just literally untapped. It's right there at the surface where they want to talk about something, but they just need you as the brand to give them a very small little nudge. And I'll even say that before Carro, I would say that the way that we would do this is by having a robust loyalty and referral program. And then influencers can in some way feel empowered that way. But sometimes that can feel transactional, or you haven't maybe hashed that out as well. Here, it's a little bit more individualized to the influencer and what they're doing. And of course, now that we have a tool like Carro, we can take it really to the next level. And what I would say, what I do with Carro, or if you're a brand doing a few thousand sales a month, you want to pop in daily or weekly, or maybe even set up an alert and say, okay, if somebody with over 10,000 followers signs up for email list or buys from us, let's reach out to them and have a special program just for them, whether it's discounted product, whether it's actually just bringing them into the influencer program, or it could even be as simple as hopping on the phone and just seeing what are their interests and how might they align with us. And so that's my take on like the past, present, and future of this. But I really want to, you glossed over something here. Maybe it's Jason's specialty and not yours, because you're in the video game industry and you working really closely with influencers. You started to see this opportunity emerge. Your tool is based completely on big data. How did you conquer that problem specifically? I want to go a little bit off script, because I think that when people start to understand how much data you're collecting and how powerful that becomes, it's like, oh, wow, I want to use this platform. I want to use their aggregate data for
so what happened was we found that a lot of the brands, of course, don't have any engineers. So they actually don't have access to their own data in any usable form. They have, they could go to MailChimp and get just at the MailChimp data, but to sort of give this holistic view across Klaviyo and MailChimp and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all these different places, to try to give them some kind of understanding of what's going on in the world for them in a, it's a very simple concept. We can't work out who you're interacting with unless you let us look, right? But the thing is, we have better developer credentials than a brand can get. So we have an amazing relationship with the various networks, and they give us really much higher level access to the data, so that we can basically help the brand understand what's going on in a much better way. And so in a way, somebody has to do this for them. It would be silly for them to all hire a whole engineering team to try to repeat this. And that's the way the video game industry works too. It would be silly for everyone to make a 3D game engine. Why not just find a company that's willing to do that work? And then all the
Everyone
game
builds on
companies,
top.
Epic is a good example of that. And so ultimately what that does is it allows us to think about what else can we do for the brands. There's a new thing that we've added due to COVID, because what happened was a lot of retail stores shut down and sent all their products back. And so what we did is we realized that is there a way we can get the brands to be able to stock products virtually? So instead of having to buy a pallet of gloves and then hope, like say you're a bicycle company, instead of buying a pallet of gloves and bringing them all the way over to your warehouse and then hoping they sell, and you only bought one glove because you only bought one style because you don't want to take a risk on all the styles because who knows what people want. The idea of just doing everything virtually, because we're built into their systems, that's actually effortless for us. So you could take all the gloves from the glove company, from the bicycle glove company, put them on your bicycle site and sell them, and you become the retailer. So you get to actually keep the retailer cut of that, and they'll do fulfillment. And that's something the world has changed now. We understand, like with Etsy and eBay and everyone and Amazon, that boxes arrive from different locations when something is being fulfilled. But the idea that you're not moving products around anymore and hoping to sell them, there's no need to move the product until it's actually sold, is way more efficient. And what we're starting to see, this is now technically live. We have about 25 brands that we've allowed in, but we have over 1,000 that are sitting, waiting very patiently.
I've been sending some your way to line up for this, by the way.
it's an exciting thing. But this is really the point, is that if you really step back to just say, well, what are these guys up to? We're focused on attention. I think attention is the most valuable thing on the internet. It's what built Facebook. It's what built Google. It's not all the stuff they do. It's the fact that they sell attention. That's the core source of revenue.
I like attention. I'm going to challenge you, though. I think data might be more important. I don't know, though. I think they're both like one without the other is
attention.
Okay.
Well, the reason is no one wants to buy their data. People want to buy their attention. So let me give an example. Have you ever met a brand that said, no, we're good on attention. We don't need any more. We have plenty of attention. They have an insatiable desire for it, and they pay insane amounts of money for it. And they used to do it in very inefficient ways. Obviously, with the internet, they can get more efficient, but they always want more attention. And that's basically what we're constantly thinking. And that's why we went with the influencer model, because if you find the authentic influencers that love your product, they're usually willing to do it for some makeup that the cost of goods was actually only $30. And now you've got this person doing multiple posts. One of the little dark secrets of social media marketing, this is one of the more scary aspects of it, is if you pay an influencer cash through an agent to sell something that they don't authentically love and want, they can't wait to delete your post. The minute that contract says that post can be deleted, it's gone. They don't want it in their feed. Is that the relationship you want to have with them? If instead they choose the makeup they were about to purchase with their own cash, and now they're getting that makeup for free, they're so happy to talk about it and post it, and they do not delete those posts. And so the authenticity of that is just so critical. So what we found is that was the lowest cost form of attention that you could possibly deliver online, and that's why we went that direction. But now we've realized this idea that you can, influencers are brands too, so they can participate in this idea of virtual inventory. Well, what does that mean? The network that we have currently has 250 million people hitting it every month. If you push your products to the edge of the network, like you put your gloves in the bike store, you're now getting the traffic of the bike store for free. And they're quite happy to do it because you're collaborating. They want your gloves and they're willing to put them out on the edge of the network. And so this brings the cost of traffic to zero. And when a sale happens, that becomes a new customer for you. So this is what drives us. And you're going to see continuous innovation as we go forward, is what other ways can we deliver attention at a price that's just insanely low. And I think influencers have turned out to just be just a phenomenal place for us to get started.
I love it. And by the way, he's talking about their new brand partnerships tool / feature of Carro. I have plugged Carro here in the chat, and you can install the free finding the influencer tool in your audience, influencing your audience tool. Sorry, I didn't say that right. Is here, and then the brand partnerships component is really to me it's mind blowing, and it's really simple. But what it does, because I've worked with like co-marketed giveaways and partnerships in that regard, where it's like, I'm going to email my list, you email your list, we'll get everybody to this giveaway. I'll give away 100 pillows, you'll give away 100 t-shirts, and some other person will give away 100 trinkets, whatever it is. We're all in the same industry, we have similar audiences, so it makes sense to partner and give that away. Here, what we're doing is empowering the kind of if you're already about to buy one of those things and you have the ability, we heard it yesterday actually when we were talking about the ability to kind of monetize your audience in different ways. And that's what this is, except it's happening in real time, as opposed to say getting a customer and then trying to sell them a partner product. You actually are getting a customer and showing them that there are additional products they could buy from me as now the retailer essentially, or e-tailer of somebody else's brand and product. And so in this way, I don't even think I've done this justice yet, but in this way, if I am selling bicycles and I also want to sell bicycle gloves, I can add them to my store. The bicycle glove company literally will just say, yes, give me the partnership. And all of a sudden the products are in my Shopify store. Now, what's beautiful about this is that I can then create the immediate cross-sell, upsell component. So they add this to the cart, and then you can take them down this chain of, oh, would you like these gloves, right? And then of course, everybody that buys those gloves, you didn't have to pay for the inventory. All you need to do was secure the partnership, and then they're fulfilling on their end. The payouts are automatic from what I understand, and everything's being taken care of behind the scenes. And by doing this, you're going to increase the average order value of your store. You're building that partner relationship in a way in which they're going to send people to you. You're going to send people to them because your product can now go on their store as well. So everything is kind of making sense. And what's really scary, taking what you've done here to the nth degree, we're just talking about Amazon, really, if you think about it. But in the beginning stages and where we are today with it, it's about being more niche and multi-product line and in our respective industries. But if you know what I'm talking about though, right? The nth degree of this is just Amazon selling everything from everybody, listing it there. And I think Shopify will eventually do something like that. But here we have the perfect, it's not down market, downstream or simplified version of what those larger companies are doing, where as a smaller e-commerce brand doing 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, I can find the partners in my industry, the influencers that are perhaps selling their own products, and I can just plug them right in. And so right. I love it. I'm so bullish.
And vice versa too. So influencers are brands, which means they can take your product, put it into their store. And the influencer today, as you know, Casey Neistat used to send all his traffic to Amazon, and he would get his average of about 3%. In this scenario, he gets the retailer cut because he actually found the buyer and sold the product. So he easily gets around 30%. That's 10 times what they used to earn. And another great thing for the influencer is they're now building a customer database, which, if they're really big on a social network, someday that social network will go away. You might have been huge on MySpace. I'm sorry, it goes away. In which case, if you're building your own customer, customers that want to buy from you and you own that database that is yours, it's sort of in a way you can drive all your social traffic to that, build your own relationship with these people. You can promote your charities and whatever else you do there, because this is now your central social hub. And that means as networks come and go, it doesn't really matter to you anymore because you've got your core. It's sort of backing up your core. And what we're already seeing is this is hallowed ground for brands. Like if you're selling your product on different stores, that's great, but getting into an influencer store is just heaven. And so one of the tips.
And it's 2 clicks or something like that, right?
Yeah,
so
it's effortless. And the influencer doesn't want pallets of product in their house. Their mother does not want to handle logistics. So they don't have to do any of that. But what you should be doing if you make a product is to think about, what can I do to get these influencers, not only to put my things in their store, but also to really be excited about them. And that usually means customization of some way. I can't tell you how many companies want to make t-shirts for influencers. It's like, please stop, enough. No more sweatshirts, no more t-shirts. We're good. It's the stuff, the jewelry and the things that, electric bikes. Can you make the Casey Neistat edition of the Super 73, for example? Because he'll promote the bike, but why not make a custom version for him so that his fans can buy that? And so what we've discovered, and we've certainly done tests with this, is when the influencer and the brand align and they not just love each other, it's not just a love fest, but they actually collaborate, then their fans just totally get into that. So I think it's very important to sort of think about how you can help the influencer create content, and also to give them things to sell that don't just feel like a random candle or something like that.
Yeah, and to tie this all the way back to social media, because I think that obviously this is the future of social media, and I want to talk about the future of e-commerce, the future of social media, how they overlap here. I want to paint a picture of what, it's not even next year. This is literally doable now with Facebook Shop and Instagram Shop. If you can incorporate your store shop. So what we have today, we have jewelry companies, we have bikini companies, we have fashion brands, right? And typically a fashion brand doesn't sell jewelry, and jewelry brands don't sell dresses or bikinis, right? So we have a problem where, as an influencer, if I'm posting jewelry, I obviously am going to be wearing clothes with my jewelry, and the person looking at this wants to shop the look, right? So to me, this is all about fashion and beauty and shopping the look. I want to buy all of this in one place. Well, when you have an instant integration like what you've created, I can add all of the products she's wearing to one store. I can tag them all in one post, and I can have the person buying in 1 second the entire look. And then you can do this you can just do this over and over again till you've got 20, 50, 100 looks. You can have story after story. And it's, here's the page that has all these products bundled together, shop the look, buy now, and you'll find average order values through the roof. You can use Instagram and Facebook Lives to do social selling in this kind of QVC style that we see online. And all of a sudden, it's like, you can be in dozens of brands online selling, dozens of influencers putting your products on and selling in dozens of other stores your product, and your brand is getting out there. And the beauty is, because you're still fulfilling, you can put your insert into the box. You can kind of build a one-to-one relationship. It's not like Amazon where it's like, okay, it was transactional and now the customer is dead. It's much more personal. And so it is just by far so exciting to me. And when I think about how I bought this shirt, I've got really my favorite pair of shorts on today, my sandals. I bought them all separately, and I don't think that in 2021 I'll be buying them separately. I think I'm going to see a post on Instagram and be like, "That's the outfit I want."
Yeah, and it'll be delivered from the brands, and there will be no wastage. Someone won't be taking a bet on it. It'll all just get done the most efficient way possible, and I think. It's just, to me, if you think about it with Amazon isn't sharing customers. If you're successful on Amazon, they clone your product, as you can see with their antitrust lawsuit in Europe right now. And you're not really a brand unless you're building a customer relationship database in a way. You've got to have this group of people you can reach out to with future products and sort of grow that relationship with them. And that's why you're seeing millions and millions of brands leaving and trying to stand on their own feet. But there's one problem with every single platform, which is even Shopify, Magento, Salesforce, all of them, is they're headless. They don't have a front door where they drive lots and lots of traffic to your brand. You're on your own. Every single entity on all of the platforms are all on their own as far as getting attention. And that's why by building this, we're thinking of like a federation of brands. We have 25,000 now. That will soon be 50,000, 100,000.
You guys are growing. So fast.
By Christmas, we'll have 1 million products. We have 250 million monthly visitors. These companies have sold over $10 billion of products, like they're real companies. And so this idea that you create a sort of federation of brands is our way of going about it a little differently. So you can put your products to the edge of the network, but together they can grow. And in that way, that's where the attention can be shared. And so you can sort of see the thinking that we have. And you know what? It's been really fun because it's coming together. And again, coming from the video game industry, it's a bit crazy for us to come in and try to shake things up a little bit. But so far, so good. And you know, we've had no problem raising money and getting investment. People are very excited about this. And with COVID, if anything, I think we're helping brands grow. Our problem right now is just trying to manage so many requests. So we have to, what we're actually working on internally is trying to make everything frictionless. Because today, when we do a brand partnership, still someone talks to somebody, like there's a phone call, and that slows everything down. And so what we're actually doing is, of course, making it all absolutely frictionless. And ultimately, what you're going to be able to do, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun playing with this, is you're going to be able to just shop for your shop. You can type in, say you're jeans.com, you can type in jeans. You're going to see jeans you've never seen before, and you can just click and add it to your inventory. And that idea of just going click, and now it's in my inventory, and I can actually make the retailer cut on all of those new jeans as they appear from brands all around the world, is really the vision for this. And shopping for your shop when there's no risk, meaning that if the thing doesn't sell, you didn't buy it, you don't have a pallet of it, you didn't store it anywhere, you didn't pay insurance on it, it's fine. If it doesn't sell, just delete it from your inventory. But if you're doing a good job and choosing cool things, in a way, it allows you to really think about what your brand actually means. We had a company that makes frying pans, and we asked them, what's the number one thing that your audience asks for? And they said, you know, whenever anyone buys one of our pans, they ask us what olive oil we should use with their pans. And so we looked in our database. We have 8 olive oil companies. So why don't you just add your favorite olive oil into your store? It will be an extra sale. That will increase your average order value. So yeah,
I love it. Because what you're talking about is interesting. Obviously, I think some people here are familiar with like a drop shipping sense of not, you know, of selling products on a store, but this is fundamentally different because I think it starts in a sense of truer self, if that makes sense. It's more authentic, which is really the mantra of Carro and Viral, your parent company in a nutshell. And by having that authenticity and not saying I'm going to white label this product, but it's their product, I'm selling it here, is really what makes this a lot more powerful than the, you know, drop shipping from China model, which I've talked about in the past, is on its way out. So I think this is the new evolution of that in a nutshell, but I'm not going to use the term drop shipping when I talk about it, because it's all about the brand partnerships and the authenticity side of it. So I absolutely love it. We're running low on time, and I know you've got a giveaway. I want you to tell everybody, how can they win a PS5?
Yeah, well, coming from the game industry, I thought it might be fun to give away a PS5 because people are going to get incredibly excited about that this Christmas. And so what I thought we'd do is we'd look, if anyone installs, if you go to getcarro.com, getcarro.com, and install the Shopify version, over the next 48 hours, we'll just choose a random brand, and whoever did the install is the one that will be given a PlayStation 5. And secondly, if you install over the next 24 hours, we will give you concierge support, which basically means please install, get it all set up, and then contact support and tell them that you heard this feed, and they will give you a guided tour. And that's worth its weight in gold, because they're going to give you tips and things that other people just won't think about, and you will be up and rolling. So I would highly recommend doing that. So again, just reach out to support after you've got everything up and running.
I love it. That is amazing. What you're doing is so innovative. And we did have a question on how do you monetize. I believe with the brand partnership specifically, the monetization is in that transactional layer. Is that correct?
Yeah, so currently the whole influencer side is completely free. So go crazy, have fun. Yeah. The virtual inventory, we take a transaction fee, which is currently 5%. So when, you know, the brands work out with their split, it's usually like 60-40, something like that. And then from that, we take our 5%. And, you know, the response is generally, can we just do this with everything? Because now I can get rid of my warehouse. And so the 5% so far has been absolutely irrelevant to them. And
Yeah.
at some point, we plan to add subscriptions, but not. I hate subscriptions. So the only reason that we would do it later is because brands are asking us for specific features that they really like. They want to integrate with a specific accounting package, and we have to go and code that up. So there will be things in the future, as subscriptions in the future. But for now, yeah, it's just 5%, which is,
This,
considering you're selling products you don't have, it's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's essentially pure profit, and it should work easily into most businesses' gross margin and all that stuff. You guys, your team wouldn't tell me what you guys were working on for a few months. You just said there's something big, and then finally I got to know about brand partnerships right before you guys launched it. What's the next big thing for Carro? I feel like you're going in such a different direction than most tech companies in your industry. Can you give me any spoilers to the next blind side I'm going to get?
Yeah, because we're getting asked, well, what if I don't have Shopify? Well, the answer will be we're going to support all platforms. That we'll be doing that in 2021. But what about for someone right now who's sitting on Magento going, this sounds so cool, but I can't use it? We're creating something called score.getcarro.com. And score is the Carro score. And we're thinking of it like the FICO score for influence. And the idea being, let's say you have 1 million customers. How on earth could you ever sort them by how influential they are in like an effortless right now, have the answers in an hour? And so we created score.getcarro.com. You can simply take a spreadsheet of your customers, and it just sorts them. And what does that mean? Well, the idea then is if you're having an event, you can choose the people at the top of your list. You can give them backstage passes, or you can invite them to your event. You can look down the list. If you can reach out to the influencers, and if they are excited, that's great. They probably will be because they're from your data. And so to be clear, we don't sell any data. I just want to be very clear on that. We are not a data selling company. What we actually do is sort your data for you. So we only see what you give us, and we just sort it for you. But what it helps you do is look through and go, we really like this person, let's reach out to them. And you'll find, because they're from your data, they're going to be very excited to hear from you. The most common response you get to reaching out is, oh my God, I've been buying your products for years. I love your brand. That's the most common response. So this idea of letting people do this at scale, I think is going to impact enterprise. Like if you're a hotel, who's walking up to the desk at 2 p.m. today? Is it someone important? Oh my God, it's the most important person that ever walked in here. It also solves the Casey Neistat problem. We have an API as well, which allows an airline to just get this right going forward and not mess it up. And so this is something that we've been working very, very hard on in the background. It's not something that it's live. You could actually, because I've told you where it is, you can now go and find it.
Score.getcarro.com. I'm going to go check it out.
But just know there's a whole new website coming for that. It's going to get very pretty. And but that's a little skunkworks thing that's coming along really beautifully right now. And the last thing we're doing in 2021 is it turns out that when an influencer posts, not everyone sees it. But imagine this post is working really well for you. Wouldn't you want everyone else to see it? So what we're doing is we're working with Facebook to add boosting in the most frictionless way possible. And so that's just something, I don't want to talk about that too much, but
that's amazing. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I just got really excited because this is a problem on the brand side. I would gladly throw $1,000, $10,000 at some of these influencer posts, but you can't do that because it's,
You can't do that. So we actually handle that entire process, which is ridiculously complicated for a brand to try to do themselves. They normally have to hire an agency, and the agencies are asking us to do this. We had an agency offer to invest when they heard that we were actually doing this, because they know the pain that's being solved. And in reality, it's great for Facebook because they need more people to do this. But what actually happens is, what you're doing is very commonly maybe 10 or 20% of the actual full audience see a post because it goes by in the feed so quick. But by doing this now you're going to get 80, 90% will see it. And so that's a thing that we've got brands testing right now. It's actually working. But but it won't be officially announced and launched until next year.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, everybody. What you're doing is so amazing. I love following the Carro story. I look forward to having you back on here in a year. What we're going to be talking about, we're going to do this again in a few months. I'm certain of it. And we're going to be talking about how to incorporate that FICO score into email automations and other programs of your business. And we're going to have the full-fledged strategy, which is going to fundamentally change over the next 12 months. So if you know social media marketing today, you know influencer marketing today, you know marketing today and brand partnerships, that the whole playbook is changing. Don't spend too much time building out the processes. They're about to flip on their head thanks to Carro. I think that's the takeaway. I love it. Thanks so much, David, for your time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Keep doing what you're doing. It's super helpful. Thank you so much, Derric.
Of course, my pleasure.